So good afternoon, students. Let's start our lecture. Please make your phone silent mode. So today is teaching week 5. So 1 week ahead of your in-class test. Hopefully next week. Today, our lecture 4. So we will talk about international labor migration. All right, so labor migration. So first of all, I believe that you all have been abroad, most of you, okay? So with different reasons, yes. So there are different reasons that people are, crossing their border of their country. So some people, they just travel. Yeah, they go to another country for the purpose of traveling. Or some others, they go for the purpose of education, right, to get master's, PhD, or for some other purposes, right, okay? Or some people, they go for business opportunities, right, to do business with abroad, okay? Good. And some people with health issues, because that health system infrastructure is not similar in all countries. Some are relatively more advanced, so people are going to those countries to get treatment, okay? And some, they go for the purpose of marriage issues, yes, for the marriage purpose, okay? And most of the people today from developing countries, they are leaving their countries for the sake of finding a job, okay? For employment opportunities, as skilled or unskilled work, okay? So, international labor migration. So it's like, one small portion of labor economics, okay? So if I have a chance to teach that module maybe next year when you become level 5 students, maybe I will have to teach that module. I'm not sure. Labor economics.
Do we have
Yeah, it's optional module, okay? So if it's open, then maybe next year I may consider teaching it, but it's not 100% decided. So anyway, if you have a chance to take that module, then you will study all of these things in all pieces of detail, okay? So which means we are just going to learn just one piece of the iceberg today. Good. So labor migration is so important, all right, which has very high correlation with all types of migration, okay? So people, they travel, and at the same time, they get employed, okay? Work and travel, one program that you are doing, right? Okay? Or go to study and do some part-time job. Most of the students, okay? And for health issues, some economic migrants, okay, with illegal or counterfeit documents, they also go abroad, find an interest, very beneficial part of the world to earn some money. They also get employed. And some people, they go for work purpose, and over the time, they find a spouse and get married and live in that country. Okay? So there are many reasons, and out of those reasons, labor migration is one of the most important ones. Good. Okay. So here are some statistics, all right? I tried to download this data from Korean Immigration Service database, okay? And I picked up, post-Soviet countries, Uzbekistan, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. And you can see that in terms of numbers, Uzbeks they make the most, yes, in Korea. Among these countries. Okay? So which means that Uzbeks are more, they're immigrating to South Korea. Of course, there are Chinese, Vietnamese, and other nations. The number is much, much higher than Uzbeks, okay? So anyway, you can see, and that the gender proportion, you can see males are 3 times more compared to females, 2 times, sorry. And in terms of education, so students from Uzbekistan, okay? And workers, mostly, we have that unskilled work program. So people from Uzbekistan go to Korea, most of them they employ. And married migration data, okay? So you can see that our females, the number of females are very, very much higher than males, which I think that the Koreans, they don't find our gentlemen very attractive. Okay? So anyway, between, some terminologies which are used very frequently. Emigration and immigration. What is emigration? So, a person is considered to be an immigrant when he or she is leaving his or her own country. Okay? Once you take a flight, okay, from Tashkent airport to any destination that is crossing, you will be considered as immigrant. Okay? So which means you are leaving your own country, immigrant. So once you reach the destination country and you arrive, you will be considered as immigrant. Okay? So, immigration, immigration. Good. So these are some basic knowledge that you should know. Good. So there are, in general, 3 types of migration. First one is voluntary migration, then forced migration, and illegal migration. Okay? Those 3 migration types are widely learned by sociologists, economists, okay, and lawyers. Good. Regarding voluntary migration, people, they migrate, they leave their countries voluntarily for different purposes that we have already mentioned, okay? Tourism, medical purpose, for education, and others. What about forced migration? So it is completely vice versa of voluntary, which is involuntary. People are forced to leave their countries, okay? Because of the circumstances at home, war, or political violence, so they try to escape the country because of the danger that is at home. Okay? Refugees, asylum seekers, they leave the country because of that one. Okay? And we have illegal migrants, yes. It is also type of voluntary migration, but without proper documents. Or it may be proper documentation too. People that arrive to destination country and they usually overstay their permitted visas, okay? Stay. So then they become illegals, or some, they cross the borders, right, without documents, proper documents, so they are also migrants, okay? In general, their relation with labor migration, the first one is clear, okay? Voluntarily they go, if they have job permit, they go and work abroad. Good. Illegal migrants, they cross the border. 90% reason is what? Labor purpose, okay, in a developed country. And what about refugees? War, those people, they are leaving those countries today. One of the biggest issues in Europe is flood of immigrants from African and Middle East countries, right? Due to war and some political instability in those nations. Okay. But European community, okay, and some of them, there is very strong anti-migration sentiment developed in those countries, okay? Why? The argument is what? They're saying that there are among those refugees who are arriving to our country, significant number, they are economic migrants. Okay? So they are coming, but indeed, at home they don't have any problems. So now they're using that refugee issue, asylum issue, as good tool to come to those developed countries. Okay? This is one of the main arguments that they're using. They are not real, for example, refugees. So, and indeed, you can find that people who are coming, of course, the people, among them, there will be found some people who are indeed bogus refugees, okay? Whom we call economic migrants. They don't have any problems at home. Okay. So now we will talk about theories of migration. All theories of migration, okay, is very highly, connected with labor migration. First one is neoclassical economics theory, or neoclassical theory of migration. So, in this one, potential migrants who are willing to migrate, okay, they make cost-benefit calculations, okay? If benefits turns out to be, overstay that cost of migration, then they make decisions, okay? I used this example in our first lecture, right? A person I don't know from one of Asian countries, okay? So who's, doing very laborious work and is paid, very low salary for the work he's doing, okay? One way of improving his life is what? to go abroad and find some, labor opportunity in more developed country and improve their lives. Okay. Is it the only indicator that that person is going to decide to go abroad? No. Okay? It is one of the main indicators, but there are many other costs, yes? Including that, transportation costs, yes? Physical costs, okay, to reach that country. And there are the psychic costs that we are going to talk about later. So if all of those costs, are less than benefits, okay, then people, they decide to migrate, okay? Good. And the other type of the theory is human capital theory. All countries, okay? All countries, they have, intellectually strong personnel, whom we call them human capital, right? Human capital is one of the main important macroeconomic indicators of economic growth. It's very, very important, okay? Which means that both developing and developed nations, they need it, okay? But the reward for human capital is different based on countries to countries, okay? So, for example, in developing countries, those, people who spend, most of their lives for, academic purpose, for education, learning, for science purpose, okay? Their salaries are very low in many developing countries, okay? So, which means that, in, most of the countries, it's human nature, if salaries are low, it has also very high correlation with less respect, okay? With less respect. Which means these people, they devoted their lives to improve the society, right? But, at the end they come out with less reward. Which means their sacrifice doesn't deserve, good return, okay? So these people with such, intellectual abilities, who are, smart people, they are always rationally thinking people that you may consider, right? So they are also aware about employment opportunities abroad, right? So what do? They know that their very high salaries are offered for doctors and professors, right? And where, those kind of jobs are highly respected, okay? So those people, they make decisions to go abroad to work. So as a result, that country will benefit, this country is losing that human capital, okay? And of course, there are some other issues that benefit for both sides too. Good. So people, they migrate based on the rewards they expect from abroad, okay? Then we have social capital theory, okay? Social capital theory. It is considered as one of the most important, determinants of migration, okay? So, social networks, or our networks abroad, our friends, our family members, okay? They usually facilitate migration because they give us, the most, the recent information, perfect information about the destination country, okay? Regarding employment opportunity, you have brothers or sisters abroad, or you have a close friend, okay? If you contact with them, they will perfectly give you all the information. If they consider that the reward that you are going to get is going to be much higher, then they will be encouraging you to go abroad and work. Okay? Good. So, and that one, if you have social network, it reduces the cost of migration and the risks of migration. Why? First of all, if that person abroad, your social network is very close to you, if you don't have financial resources, that person will help you, right? If you have a brother, if you are going to travel to the US, 90% probability that he is going to cover your travel costs, okay? Once you reach the land, destination country, your housing is ready. Your friend or family member is made it ready for you, which is also reduces the cost, okay? And another one is, that finding a job, because they have already information, and social adjustment, which means you don't feel much homesick, okay? Because someone is already there. So which is reduces the cost again, psychological cost. Good? And we have new economic theory of migration, okay? So now I will give you an example of Venezuela, all right? Let's consider two households, okay? Household 1, household 2. So, equally, family size is the same. There are 2 elderly parents, okay, and 3 children. Here too, 2 elderly parents, 3 children. Let's suppose in both families, one son is a businessman, good job. He is a very famous architect, okay, and there is another one who is doing some other job. Still he's working, okay. So let's suppose this family. So making both are living good, okay. And if these households consider the new economic theory of migration, which means that household they decide to send one of their family members abroad to avoid economic uncertainties in the future. Let's suppose in year 2000, okay, these two households, this family, they decided, you have to go abroad. Okay? Your brothers are doing a good job here. You two also doing, but you can do even better in abroad. Okay? So in Venezuela. So that they sent that guy to, let's say, neighboring Ecuador. Okay? Neighboring Ecuador. Where economic, situation is at 2000 was not much different from Venezuela. Okay? Same, almost. Not US, I'm saying to Ecuador. So why did they do it? To avoid future uncertainties in the economy. Okay? Look, let's suppose just a few years ago, 2 years ago, what happened in Venezuela? They experienced hyperinflation, yes? Hyperinflation.
Shortage of fruits and medicine.
Yes. So which means that the economy in that country was in very, very bad situation. So now, in that hyperinflation days, which means in every year, in every day almost, okay, every week, the inflation rate was not increasing but a few percent, but thousands of percent high, jumping. 3 family, those sons are working in Venezuela, yes. While here 2 are working and 1 is abroad. So they received that monthly salary at the end of the month, okay, that cash. But after 1 week in those days, that money was not even enough for 1 week expenses. Do you understand? So, but this family, they were smart enough to send one son abroad, because when he gets salary, he sends home, which is not affected by hyperinflation or any type of inflation. Okay? So the day you convert that one, you will receive the money that you want. Okay? So if you compare the situation here, now this household, life is much better. Even though these 2 sons, they are doing good job, but their salaries are not enough for 1 week expenses. But he's sending that hard currency US dollars, which is very enough for 1 month. Okay? So households, based on this theory, they make a decision, even though the economy is no different. If someone is going to decide in Uzbekistan to, let's say, less developed to send Tajikistan, it is still considered like this. If Uzbekistan experiences some kind of economic fluctuations, it doesn't mean that Tajikistan will do the same. Okay? Good. Okay? So then we have cumulative causation theory of migration, which means there is one factor that influences for out-migration. Let's consider one rural area in Uzbekistan. After the break of Soviet Union, out-migration, happened, okay? Slow. But later on, that out-migration, so many people left the country for labor purposes, okay? Good. For example, if you consider this one rural area where there wasn't any migrant, okay? None of these, neighborhood people left the country. And there is one person One person who get an opportunity to go to US, let's say, okay, maybe his friend or someone invited him, okay, and for labor goods. Let's suppose he has an average income is 1 million soon in this village, which is very sufficient to live, nice life. It's enough. Here, which means in this village, there is no poverty. But one person left the country, okay, and he is now working in the US. On average, he is receiving $3,000 per month. If he is really caring person, who cares about his family, what will he do? He will send money back, yes? Remittance to his family member. Let's suppose 2,500 he is sending back. You know the exchange rate of US dollars today, you compare it to Uzbek soon, right? So which means that if you can get it to 1 million, 2,000, it is 25 times higher, right? 25 times higher. The day they receive that income, their average income per month is 25 times higher than other people. Okay? So what will happen? After a few weeks, a few months, you will see that this household, they will start rebuilding their houses. Okay? Buying nice cars. The way they dress completely changes, American clothes. Okay? And the way they talk is also different. So anyway, it has some, that they were able to improve their life by 25 times, okay? That neighbors are not blind people. They see that, life is improving in this household. What's the reason? There is one guy who went to US, okay? So which means that other, that people in the neighborhood, they will try to migrate too. In Uzbekistan, it happened the same. When in early years, some people left to Russia when they were making money, coming back to village, all other villages they see it. That way, labor migration increased, which is called cumulative causation of migration. Okay, so it is causing others to migrate. If that the inner remittance inflow to this village, it usually increases inequality level. Okay, inequality, because those families receiving remittance, their incomes will jump high, so they are receiving much higher compared to other people. Okay, and there is another factor. Let's suppose, I believe if you go abroad, if you are working, you will send money back, yes? Which means that US dollars that you are sending back home, it is considered because it's very hard currency for which you are able to buy. As economists, yes, there is always the issue of deflation and inflation or appreciation or depreciation of US dollar. What is the best decision? You will say, okay, daddy, mommy, it's better if you just buy some assets. Okay? Which means over time, it's not in terms of value, it doesn't depreciate. So, if I send money back, thousands of dollars, and ask, buy a few, hundreds hectares of land, farming land. I believe in Uzbekistan because population is growing, that's the price going to be up and up. And they will invest, which my parents are, very illiterate of farming sector. Okay? They're not. I just buy the land. This is it. But it causes out migration, this decision. Why? Because before I buy that land, there were so many farmers who were using that land. Okay? After my purchase, those people become unemployed. Because there is no employment opportunity here, they will go to Russia. Okay, or some other place. So which means my purchase is causing them to leave the country. Okay, good. Send mine. So segmented market theory of migration, it's very clear, all right? People, if they really, their intention is to earn money, they never go abroad and seek jobs in a place where there is no labor demand. All right? people are going to US or people are going to Russia or some other country because they definitely know there is demand for migration labor, migrant labor. Okay? So that is the segmented labor market theory. And we have that the world system theory, which causes that FDI, foreign direct investment. Investment is, serves as, flow of information. For example, in early 90s, when those Uzbekistan had, some economic agreement with South Korea, okay, they decided to invest. They opened a GM and they invested to our, those mineral resources here, okay? By that one, they moved to our country, and hundreds of Uzbeks were taken to Korea, and they were trained, okay? As a result, that information moved. It served as information flow. The ones who visited the Korea, when they came back, they already knew that, there is very high demand for immigrants' labor. So those people, they were again going back or encouraging others to go back, to go there, as it's flow of information. Okay, good. And another one is country risk factors. Okay, that wars, political violence, whatever, right? All of those things force people to leave their countries. As I already mentioned, among these, the thousands of people who are in this boat, okay, you can definitely find significant number of people who are actually not leaving their countries for these, purposes of war. Okay? So which means we call them bogus refugees, fake refugees. Okay? Good. And today, all of us, we have smartphones, computers, it's everywhere available. If you need access to internet, 24/7 available, right? Okay. So, and how does it influence on labor migration?
Sometimes it reduces migration because of free market.
Sometimes it may reduce, yes, but it usually increases labor migration, because it gives us information about the destination country. So now from home we can make research. Which country is the best for labor purpose? US, Germany, or France? You turn out, after you check, you will check the immigration policies. In Germany, in France, migration policies compared to US is very strict, okay? If you, overstay your visa, you will be easily deported back, while in the US, it's not that much strict. Okay? So which means your decision will be go to yes. Good? So now, graphical representation of labor migration, okay? Explained by economic growth, which is that in early stages of economic growth, migration increases from countries. Emigration increases. How is it possible? For example, if you consider one poor country, out-migration level is very low to developed countries. The main reason is those people, not unwillingness, they also want to go to abroad and work, but they are not able to cover the cost of migration. Okay? They are not able to cross Atlantic or Pacific Oceans. So that's the main issue. If they have the financial resources, they will be willing to go abroad and work. Once economy starts growing, which means that on average people's income will start also growing, which will make people more and more capable to cover the cost of traveling. Okay? So, which means with economic growth, people start migrating more. In the case of India, maybe we may consider, okay? So once the economy of India was growing, or some African countries, out-migration increased from those countries. Okay. Good. In Uzbekistan too. After the break of Soviet Union, our infrastructure was completely broken almost. So we experienced very difficult days in early, those times. And once in that time, which means we were not able to travel much. So over the years, that's how immigration increased from Uzbekistan. Okay? Good. And it says that it will increase, migration will increase until a certain point. And then it will start reducing. For example, Korean migration to the US is a good example. Okay? In 70s, 60s, after the World War, Korea, North Korea, South Korea war, the U.S. itself was supporting South Korea, many Koreans they left, and others they were traveling for to improve their lives, whatever. Okay. But today you can see that lots of Koreans are coming back to the U.S. Why? Economic situation in the U.S. and in Korea is almost same. Let's suppose, okay? Even though it's a bit lower, but life in Korea is not bad, very good. So they are returning back because they reached this level of growth. Which means if they go back, it's not almost different from the destination countries. Of course, as people of one country, we prefer our own country, right? Where our family members are there, we have cultural values, and there is no that morning osh in US available, while it's available here. Okay? So they will come back. And another thing is, migration has very high correlation with working age. In your age, that right now, you are very energetic, okay? You are ready to do all types of jobs, okay? And you are very curious at this age, which means you would like to see many interesting things. Good. So which means, in early age, I'm saying early age, I'm saying that, after getting mature, 16, 15, okay? So people try to migrate more. Why? Because they are physically active. And they can do labor and work higher salary abroad. And it will continue up to a certain point. At this age, first reason why return migration happened,
You earn enough money.
one is you earn enough money. Another is you are physically weak, okay? Even though you are physically strong, because you look old, an employer, they will not like to hire you, okay? Another reason. And another reason why at this age, migration does not happen much, because after the age of 40, usually in career, you're in a career building, you reach the highest levels. You are already a manager, or a director, or you're a CEO. Which means at that age, the earnings that you are making at home is not much different from abroad. Okay? Another thing that keeps you from out migration. And another thing is social life here. After age of 40 or 50, you have children who are, they have to get married. You must stay here. Or you have already grandchildren, grandsons, who lovely, whom you don't want to leave any seconds, okay, which keeps you from out migration. And as I said already, when you get older, those morning osh is not available in those countries for those elderly people. Okay? Good. Strong attachment to the community. Okay. And another one is, in this inverted U shape is, migration and democracy level. When democracy level increases in the country itself, migration will also increase. Why? Countries which are considered as autocratic, which means they're not democratic countries, they don't allow out migration. The example of, for example, North Korea. Okay? The example of North Korea. It's very difficult to leave the country. There are special government programs in North Korea. They send North Korean migrants to work, to run their businesses in China, Vietnam, and some countries. Okay? Restaurant business, they make the cooking stuff. It's business, they send. Okay? And with strict government permission. But I am very, believe if Kim Jong-un's government today, if they decide, even though it's called, democratic, okay, it's not very democratic, right? They already know. So if they decide into, with a pure intention to make it 100% democratic country, you will find that people start moving the country. Now there is no border control. Still, if they make good intention, who reads their heart? No one can read, right? Maybe they agree for some other reason, political reason, people they will get this chance and start leaving the country. Once they live in many numbers, after a few years they will see that democracy level indeed is increasing in North Korea. Where North Koreans or Koreans are very homogeneous people, okay, who very highly want to be within the community. They will say, oh, they are positive things are really happening. They will start coming back. Okay, when situation is not very different from the destination country. Okay, good. And what about the distance? Distance is another factor for labor migration. Okay, which means the higher the distance, the higher the cost of migration. Okay. First of all, if the distance is too far, it's very difficult to get reliable information about the country. Okay? For example, our country is considered to be very far from many Latin American countries. If you go to those countries, if someone is asking you, where are you from? If you say, I'm from Uzbekistan, they will ask the same question a few times. They will repeat, where? Okay? They don't know. And there are so many countries in those that which, most of the people, they also don't know. If someone comes from there, where are you from? You will look very different. I'm from where? You will ask a few times too. Okay? And if you consider that North and South Korea, very good example, where one is very developed, another one is very not developed, yes? There are so many countries, and people who do not know that there are two Koreas. For example, I have one person, very highly respected professor, okay, who is today, he's a chairman of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in East Asia, okay, from Congo, Professor Yombi. Because, after some political unrest, he was from Prince family. He had to leave the country. And he went to China, escaped the country. If he stayed, he could end up being in jail. And he said, when I was talking with him, he said, embassy. Okay, Korean embassy. And I went there and I applied for visa and got visa and I arrived to Seoul. And he says, I did not know up to that point that there are two Koreans. He knew about only North Korea. But he ended up being in South Korea, which he was lucky enough to be there. Okay? Because today he is very highly respected, okay? And he read a lot of things after that one. Anyway, so which means if someone today is offering you, do you want to go over to Korea and do some labor? If you say, yeah, sure. Here is my passport. He will bring you the beautiful looking visa, and it is North Korea. Okay, you are dreaming about that $50 per hour, but you end up being in somewhere else. Okay, so which means with longer distance, that's it. Another issue is distance is psychic costs. Okay, homesick. I believe you also, if you were abroad, you felt the same feeling, yes? If you are very emotional, millions of dollars of salary, it does not, you don't see it at this moment, okay? Which you have to overcome. Good. And what about brain drain issue? Brain drain issue, after 1950s, okay? From most of the developing countries, okay? The ones who were intellectually strong scientists, they left their countries and went to developed countries for high salary cuts. Even in developed countries too. For example, in more than 200 well-known scientists, scholars, left British universities to get employment in American universities. Why? The reason is they were offering much higher salary. Okay? And another example, after the collapse of Soviet Union, during Soviet Union, our education system was so good, so strong scientists, okay? They left the countries. Good. And what are some positive and negative, effects of brain drain to country of origin? What's the positive effect? If someone brain drain, the smart people are leaving the country, yeah?
They send money to their hometown.
Good, yes. So they send us US dollars, which is investment to our economy. Good thing. Yes? But what is the negative side? We are losing those brains, yes? We are losing those brains. For example, if you consider the case of India, when Indian government, they encourage their people, for example, to participate in those international labor migration, expecting a higher reward from the investment, okay? And sociologists and economists from around the world, they were, making strong arguments that soon India will, have very strong negative impact on the economy because they are losing their very highly, highly qualified scientists. They were expecting the Indian economy will, human capital is lost. But actually it did not happen, but it happened, even it gave, many more benefits. Why? Those people who went to European or American developed countries, Indians, okay, they were sending back money, that the government was supporting to do, okay? And at the same time, they were learning skills, okay, from there. And they were, in the long run, coming back to India. And they were establishing their businesses, all right? Very new know-how industries, which made Indian economy so strong today. It has very positive effect, okay? But regarding, if you consider today in Uzbekistan case, we have so many good scientists working abroad, right? Whom we really need them here, doctors, okay, engineers. So therefore our government, they are now, we have special program to attract them to come back. We are approaching those because, first, because they are our own citizens, it's best if we have our own. Because if they contribute to the economy, they will do it with love. Okay? Not selfishness. So which means that, so therefore we are offering them high salary, come back, we will pay you whatever you want, you are earning there. We will provide you with housing from the, from the capital. Okay? That we are trying to attract. Okay? Good? Competition in job market between natives and migrants. For example, if you consider that unskilled labor, which is most of the labor that is migrant they are doing abroad, they're working, is unskilled labor. Okay? When unskilled people are going abroad, do they expect higher salary from the natives? They don't, right? They know, if I will offer, my wage, my labor for cheaper, so that I will be able to get, employment there. So which means that employment is lower compared to natives, is much higher than my salary at home. Lower salary. So the migrants, they have less preferences. When migrants go abroad and work, usually they don't, I want to be a manager. Or I want to be a, here. No. This is the job you have to do, okay? I'll do it. It's the way that migrants work, okay? And no complaints usually. But what about natives in all countries? They always want higher salary. They encourage, labor unions, okay, push the government to increase the salary.
Those teachers in our university get more salary than Indians.
I haven't been to India. Regarding in India, I believe they get higher salary than
Indian
us.
teachers who are teaching in our university.
Pardon?
Indian teachers who are teaching in our
We
university.
have teachers from Pakistan, from other countries.
Ah, yeah. Okay, good question. All right. In India, there are so many PhDs. If they want to get, in India, there are some top universities, okay, where they produce so good, students. Very strong universities. Getting employment there, okay, is, I believe it's more difficult than getting, some employment from Europe. There are enough. They are paying their high salary too. Regarding, never the low level universities, I don't know. Regarding high, the top universities, they are paid, salaries are very high for professors. So anyway, it's private talk, we let's have it. So anyway, high salaries, okay, the natives, they want more preferences, okay, and yeah, good. Which means, it is negatively correlated, right? They are offering everything in low, while they want high standards. And in the long run, how the immigration influences on natives? They are taking their jobs. Yes? Okay. Immigrant is taking my job. Okay? And usually because of that one, it causes xenophobia or anti-migration sentiment. Send back these, illegal immigrants from our country. They are taking away our job, blah, 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 okay? And I believe to reduce, yes? Okay, no need for explanation. Good. And what's the role of demographic changes in developed countries? What kind of demographic changes developed countries are experiencing? Low fertility rate, yes? Low fertility rate. In developed countries, when they are having less and less children. There are many countries today, the scientists, demographers, they're expecting after a few hundred years, those people, will cease to exist. Because they are not, giving child, okay? If the temp is like this, no people will remain. Anyway, and how does it influence on migration? And these, the low fertility rate is mostly in developed countries, okay? Where the economies are growing more and bigger, which means they are in need of more and more human capital, which is not available from their own country. So therefore, they are encouraging migrants to come. Okay? Please come and work. Please come and work. Here is good visa for you. Here is the job. Come and work. Okay? Just because they are not able to do it by themselves. Good. So now, this graphical representation is very important one, which we are going to, in the seminar, I will show you in numerical values exercise. Okay? Let's consider U.S. labor market and Mexican labor market. And here is the demand for labor in U.S. for Americans, okay? And this is for Mexicans in Mexico. Good. And you can see that, and we know that salaries in the U.S. is much higher compared to Mexico. Let's suppose at this point migration is not allowed, all right? And with some kind of rules and regulations, they remove those bans. Then what kind of trend it will experience? Mexicans, if there is no restriction for going to the US, they will be moving to Mexico. US. Because they will be able to earn higher salary. If Mexicans move from here to here, what will happen? There is higher labor supply, yes. Americans are working, but there are migrants who are willing to work for cheaper, yes. As a result, natives and Mexicans, they will have labor competition. over time, wages start reducing, okay? Good. What will happen in Mexico? Because so many people have to, yes, now there is higher labor demand for Mexicans, yes? If there is higher demand, wages start increasing. So migration will, is going to, continue until wages in the destination and origin is going to be the same. All right? So when Mexicans see that, the wage difference is not great, then they will not go abroad and come. Okay? It's one thing. But another important thing, before migration, this is total output in US, and this one is total output in Mexico, right? If countries, they allow out migration, at this point, now that output in the US will increase, and in Mexico will decrease, but overall, total income before migration and after migration, after migration it will increase. Why? Because in Mexico, their labor was undervalued, while in the US it was overvalued. So once, this is the most efficient wage. Okay? Once it happens, you can see during the seminar, okay, those, as a whole, these countries' output will increase. Efficiency, okay? Good. Okay, we still have time, don't worry. So now, the second case is here. Now we are considering American market, and this one is South Korean market, okay? Again, so this is labor supply, and this is demand, okay? And here is the American wage, which is much higher compared to South Korean wage. Let's suppose at this point, US government strictly does not allow any migration inflow, labor migration, strict, let's suppose, by law. Or you make an assumption that Koreans are very homogeneous people, which means that they don't want to live abroad and work there. Or you can make that type of assumption, okay? So, if it happens, you can see that these Americans will be receiving high salary, right? While South Korean is the same. Now, do the employers like paying high wages? They don't, right? If your employee is very smart enough, at this point, if America is not, US government is not allowing for migration, that cheap labor, they will start outsourcing. Investing to Korea, capital. They will be shutting down their companies in the US, okay? And taking those capital to Korea, because labor is cheap here. As a result, what will happen? If they shut down their companies, many Americans will become unemployed, which means demand will shift to the left. As a result, supply of labor will increase, yes? So higher demand. So now, as a result, wages will go down between unemployed Americans and employed. Competition. What about in South Korea? High demand for their labor, right? Higher demand for less demand, sorry. High demand for their labor. As a result, in this country, wages will increase. And it will continue until in both countries, wages are going to be the same. Okay? Up to that point. And for Americans, after this point, there is no incentive to invest because it's same here. Okay? Good. And this is about capital. What about product flow? In the previous case, again, we can see that the migration is not allowed. Okay, capital is also not moving. But we know because cheap labor in Korea, they are very good in producing high quality goods, which is much cheaper compared to US. Let's say, they are trading textile or their clothing, and they are buying from South Korea. Even better quality than America, let's suppose. Which means if they start, buying those imported goods from Korea to the US, it means in the US, their textile industry will finish, okay? They will stop that one because they imported. here, which means from those industries, there will be more unemployed people. Unemployed people will start competing with employed, salary will go down. While here, for their products, there is higher demand, which means to employ more or encourage people to work more, they have to pay more salaries. As a result, again, that balanced wage can be reached. Okay? Good. And another thing is regarding the illegal migration, right? Let's suppose this is supply curve of American labor. You can see that this is the minimum wage that Americans are willing to work. If you offer less than this one, they will not work. Okay? Good. And this one, supply curve of, let's say, migrant work, labor. They are willing to work for this wage. And they are able to supply this many labor. Okay? What do you think? If migrants are offering their wages for this wage, can you find any immigrant, the natives working for this wage? Or compared to this one? No, right? But as a result, they are employed this many, and employers are paying this much salary. Can you say that at this point that that immigrants are taking away native jobs? Because there is a supply of the cheap labor, employers they decided to hire them instead of them, which means that we can say they took away their job. Or other labor economists they say it is not immigrants are taking away their jobs, but natives they don't want to work for this wage. Okay? It's another counter argument. Okay, regarding this one also, we have some exercises to do together during the seminar. So these are the books that you may consider reading. The first one is not available from the library, but most of the information taken from that book. So therefore, now I give the book for scanning. Okay, I will scan it and upload it to that. So you can read it from internet. Okay. Yes, thank you very much.